Peace, 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 peace. What's going on? What's going on? See who we got up in the building. Salute to the members. Kenzo, salute. Bobby Ramos in the building. Red Jones, salute. MC, I see you. Give me 1 second. 1 second. If you want to join the members only, let me drop the link. Real quick. So as y'all know, man, I've been trying to get on, do this channel more. Y'all know I got, for those who know, do more content, lives and stuff over here. So, so let me get on here early, man, for, for things get to happening and I don't do the live again today. So I said, let me get this. I don't really got a topic, but I'll drop the call line if anybody want to discuss anything, say anything. I'll drop the call line. Hit that link pinned to the top of the chat if you want to join the members only. Yeah, man. So, man. A lot of things going on. Yeah, salute, MC. How you been? I'm alive. I'm free. I can't complain. Thanks for asking. Yeah, man. So I said, man, let me just start getting on here. I don't got no topic and stuff like that, but I got to get into the rhythm. I got to just keep getting on here, doing lives, get used to it. You know what I'm saying? Because, this is a drama-free channel over here, the serious channel, in the sector we in. People love the drama. People is there for the drama. So this was an experiment, you know what I'm saying? Because, people said, oh, it's always drama and everybody always doing this and doing that. Let's get to some serious content and stuff like that. So I said, all right, let's see. Let's see if people really want to get to, some serious content. I know most don't, but just, because people kept, people use that as an excuse to talk about people, So let's see, put your money where your mouth is. Ming, salute. What's going on, Ming? Salute, Lazy Days. Keisha, salute. Welcome to my page. It's my serious page. Drama free. Because, the topics over here, not over here, but in the sector, I don't even like to mention the sector or, nothing from that sector over here, even though we still in the sector. But, the topics is rat, who's ratting, what else? Pedos, rapos, like it's been going on for so many years. Who's pulling up, who's outside, who's scared, I mean, listen, there's all types of entertainment. Sometimes you got to switch it up. Appreciate it. I try. I know people really don't care, but got to try to bring balance. Only facts, salute. I ain't start out with I don't like to talk about my own page over here, but I ain't start out like that. I started out, trying to do something as far as, the community and gang violence and stuff like that. The trick, you get caught up in the trick bag. People speak one way and then anyway, so we got this. Anybody want to do any collabs? Like I said, serious content. I'm with it. I got the call line. Anybody want to hit the call line? I'll drop the link. But besides that, as I said, man, I've been doing that other stuff for a minute. And I got to get used to doing these right here. So I got to force myself to keep on getting on here and going live. Because, you get comfortable. So, I kind of got comfortable with that other. Because, it's easy. All you got to do is jump on there and, act the fool. El Plaga, salute. I'm used to doing stuff like that, But to conduct yourself and, try to, run a panel and you have serious content is like work. So, Crook, salute, appreciate you, my brother. Crook gifted 20 new members. I think we got to have like 50 members, 40 members. Vic, my Taurus brother, salute. Salute to all the members. This is members only wrenches. That's a perk. I don't sell wrenches, just to clear that up. Some people say you got to pay for wrenches. It's just a perk that goes along with the members only. You got to give members, some special treatment, pause, because, they support it and they spending their money, appreciate it. I'm not really good at making graphics to make y'all some special stickers and stuff like that, merit badges. But, I could do things like that, the wrenches and all that. Salute, Keith. Have a good day. Appreciate you. Yeah, man. So, we're going to see how this is going to work out, y'all. You know what I'm saying? We're going to see how this gonna work out. I appreciate y'all. Salute all of y'all who support and don't bring the foolishness and all. I appreciate y'all. Salute to all the members. I appreciate all of y'all. If anybody want to hit the call-in link, it's right there in the chat. Anybody want any comments, any questions, any topics? I see they doing they going in on the Obamas, man. They going in on the Obamas. My last live I was talking about, not my last live, but before that I was talking about how, everybody's saying Michelle Obama is a man. Now they saying Barack Obama is a LTGB, all of that type of stuff, I be trying to care, ladies and gentlemen, and I try to do this for the show and all that, come up with it, but I'm sorry, man. There's so much stuff that be going on, especially on this social media, man. It's like the delusions and when it comes to people's sexuality and all that type of stuff, when it comes to men's, especially Paul's sexuality, I don't listen. I ain't none of my business. You know what I'm saying? The P. Diddy trial is another. It's just, I don't even know what that case was about. It was just some freaky, weird stuff going on. Now they got the sex worker dudes doing interviews. Like, pause, man. It's just like, I don't know, man. God, it gets real ugly. You know what I'm saying? Then salute to my my people. I like to talk about the history of my people, my heritage, but then the whole FBA thing comes in. It's just, everything is just tainted on this social media. And anything you talk about, Flat Earth, salute, appreciate you. I think you may have been gifted a membership. Now, these things are random. These memberships are random, so I don't know who collected a membership, but salute the crook again. Where is... I gotta wait for you to pop up, Flat Earth. So, it's just, the trivia thing was cool. You know what I'm saying? Like, the trivia thing was cool. No. I'm trying to... Tiara, salute. Where's the Flat Earth? I don't see you in here. I don't know. The Global Report, salute. Why don't... Oh, there you go. I don't see you in the chat. And yeah, my for some reason my YouTube been tripping. I don't know what it is. I got you. You good. Yeah, sometimes I do the members only. Wow, salute, Tiara. It's been a year already. You've been a member. Salute to all the members that reached the year, 12 months. Salute, appreciate y'all. Yeah, so it's difficult to, it's the celebrity gossip is cool. I mean, I'll do it, but like I told you, I'm not really interested in none of that type of stuff. But anybody like want to collaborate, or I drop the call line, or we could do a organized panel. You want to talk about whatever, we could definitely do that. But personally, like I said, man, I don't. And the Trinity thing was cool. We was talking about people who believe in the Trinity and stuff like that, and that's kind of got me back into my studying. But once I got back into the studying, the stuff I've been learning, especially with my Chat GPT, aka Skynet, you know what I'm saying? It made me have to rethink a lot of things. Because now I'm learning stuff a little quicker. So I learned some stuff about the Bible, the Word. I learned some stuff I didn't know. Vic, my Taurus brother, salute. But like I said, man, I don't mind building. And I always said Trinity or not, if you believe in the Trinity, is about the message for me first and foremost. Is about the message. You feel me? A story without a message is just pure entertainment. And I think we need to start bringing that back. Like when I was growing up, when people told stories and stuff like that, it was a moral message within the story. Stories are for children. It's exciting and all of that. But when you grow up, you realize the Cat in the Hat, green eggs and ham. It was a message in there. It was something they was trying to teach you. You feel what I'm saying? It's not about green eggs and ham. You know what I'm saying? People fighting over green eggs and ham. King Craigo, salute. Macbeck, salute. So for me, it's all about the message. What do we learn? Even from history and stuff. I don't really believe in history. I don't believe in a lot of things. But what do we learn? Or do we repeat the same mistakes that people in the past repeated? Yes, we repeat it over and over and over and over again. See, what I learned is our mistake is we try to mimic other people's definition of winning or living a good life or being happy. For instance, when I was young, I was happy, until I started getting a little older, and I didn't have the new Jordans. So now I feel like I'm not a part of the crowd. I'm less than and stuff like that. But when I was a kid, some Spider-Mans, Superman sneakers, it was cool. I was happy. So some people are happy, some people are happy until they see somebody with something else, and it makes them feel lesser than. But if yesterday you didn't know about no Jordans and you had on your whatever sneakers you wear and you was happy, and then the next day you found out them sneakers, people say them sneakers is cheap. You don't got the Jordans, and now you sad. Why? You was just happy yesterday. So that's what that's throughout history. That's what I see. People want to, people try to live off somebody else's definition of what's happy and what's being happy and what's winning and what's like, for instance, some people have like with the ladies, Vic, salute, appreciate you, my brother. with the lady, this is why, Holla love the ladies. This is why. Because me personally, I think all men and myself are, I don't find us attractive. You know what I'm saying? I don't find men attractive. You feel what I'm saying? So, that y'all ladies, I don't know what y'all find attractive about us. You know what I'm saying? But you can see some ladies, some ladies have that little dog. You ever seen that little dog and the tongue is out, hanging out the side and it look crazy? You ever seen like what I'm saying is ladies, they can find, things that's ugly. They can find it cute. You feel what I'm saying? So sometimes, you might be with somebody who people find ugly, but you think they beautiful. They make you happy. You was happy with this person until people start coming around saying, you with this person? This person look crazy. And now you feel another type. That's not how you really feel, is my point. You making other people control how you feel and what you think. If you think somebody's beautiful, then they beautiful. Forget about what everybody else thinks. And that's why I love the ladies, because they better at that than us. The ladies are better at that than us. They'll walk around and they in love with some dude. He could be 300 pounds, But us, we hide, we like big women, You got yourself a big girl, you hiding though. You don't want, what I'm saying? You don't want your friends to see that. You ashamed. It's like the food you eat, what you wear. People just criticize everything. Now you got on something you don't like because somebody else said that it looks good. Y'all ever seen those them Yeezys? Remember the Yeezys that look like orthopedic shoes? Like everybody running around. You know what I'm saying? It's like, remember like skinny pants. Salute to the people who wear skinny pants. I'm not saying that, but in my era, you can't wear tight pants. You know what I'm saying? You wore tight pants, they was roasting you. You was getting roasted. You was getting called all types of mooks and homosexual. Like, cool. Or not, Everybody say it look good, and it look good. Y'all ever read the book, The Emperor's New Clothes? That's one of my favorite books. When I read that book, it made me humble. The message is, well, I'll let you read the book. Read the book, The Emperor's New Clothes. Because that's what's going on with a lot of people. They walking around here thinking they look lit. They lit, but they, you naked. We can see you, Pause. They think they covering they think we can't see what's going on. They think they got, they covering it up with expensive garments. No. You know what I envy? You know what I envy? I envy people. You know how you see, I sometimes I see like a family, mad kids, no car, just walking on down the block, nothing name brand, just no frills clothes, just happy, and they don't care if you laugh at their shoes. They'll look at you like they don't even know why you're laughing. Like, you feel me? I envy people like that. People who, people who are just truly happy. Not because what they got and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Not because they got what they want. It's because they got what they need. I've been up and I've been down. So when I'm down, I appreciate it. And when I'm up, I appreciate it. Because when I'm up, all of these things that I have, all of these things that I think are important, and all of these things, these material things and these problems I have, people say more money, more problems, and all that. I know at any moment I can lose that and I can still be happy. See, some people, if your cable go off, you ready to hang it up. If your electricity, if you don't got no lights, you ready to. If you can't get on the internet, if you don't got no internet service, you ready to go crazy, crash out. I'm not gonna put myself in that prison. I'm free. I used to be in that prison, but once I got free, I told myself I'll never put myself in the prison of trying to please people that ain't doing nothing for me in my life, or worrying about what people think that ain't doing nothing for me in my life. Now, for the people, who's is doing something for me, supporting me, believes in me, and stuff like that, I reserve caring about what people think for them. Because I know, they only telling me things for my best interest with good intentions, right or wrong. But if I put in my mind what other people think, I ain't gonna have room for them. you know? Where I come from, respect, friendship, loyalty, all that stuff is earned. So I earn respect by giving respect and not tolerating disrespect. See, I used to rather fear more than respect. And it was a point I much rather love. But now respect is enough. You ain't gotta like me, you ain't gotta know me. Even if you love me and you do like me. If you don't respect me, I can't rock with you. Even if I love you. But anyway, If anybody want to hit the call line, the link is in the chat. Anybody got any questions, any comments, any topics you want to discuss? We here. In my world, you're either friend or foe. I hear that. I hear that. See, me personally, I don't know, man. I think social media, me personally, is a place where you socialize. You know what I'm saying? Dagmar, salute. We got member Dagmar. Salute, Crook. Appreciate you. I think Crook may have gifted you that Dagmar. My bad. Flat Earth, appreciate you, my brother. Oh, that was Crook. Salute the Crook. Appreciate you. Right. Life is very, very short. If there's one thing I know, it's death. I've lost people early on in life. Since childhood. I've lost like friends and stuff like that to, violence or what have you. I'm not saying I'm, immune. Like I don't, but it's like regular. You feel what I'm saying? And with this social media, man, it's difficult like to honor somebody or celebrate somebody's life because people will disrespect the dead and all types of and that's why I said I don't think personal this was designed for people's personal information and stuff like that, especially YouTube. You know what I'm saying? Because so yeah, that's why I try not to talk about too much personal stuff on here. Because you want to honor somebody, or celebrate their life, but then if you put it out there and people start, exploiting it or being disrespectful, it's kind of like a catch-22, man. Well, yeah, you're right. That's what we all got in common, ladies and gentlemen. If that's the one thing we all got in common, everybody gonna have a time. You know what I'm saying? That's why people respect, throughout life, people learn to respect death because everybody got their time. That's why you're supposed to appreciate life while you got it. Salute, Crook. Appreciate you, my brother. Amen. That's a fact. That's a fact. Yeah, man. Like I said, man, some people, handle things differently. When I was younger, the first couple of times, it's real difficult, but after a while, man, and I really don't do funerals, but hold on, we got a caller. Ladies and gentlemen.
Good afternoon.
Salute. What's going on?
What's going on, brother? Long time listener, frequent caller.
Salute, Kenzo, and member.
Definitely. I try to remember. Most times I'll come in, I'll see it. I don't have the membership again. I'm like, I got to get money online. I don't keep much money online still. I'm trying to get my way a little bit better with it. I know a lot of us still live that way with cash.
Me. Preaching to the choir.
It took me years to even get my bank card. Now I'm like, I'll fight. Should I use my bank card or my Cash App card? You know what I mean? Because I know with Cash App, they have different features you get from doing your banking through them. And that's even when I worked with my old man. He'd be like, man, you get like overages and things like that. So I still debate that. But it feels good to have
the Cash App card. It charge you. The Cash App card charge you like $7
for certain things. Yeah, that's why I like my banking. Plus, my stepdad. When I got my bank account, my mom and stepdad were still together. He was the old Navy guy, so I got to get into Navy Federal because of being family. So it's like almost like a little bit better than some banks.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about
I didn't have a specific topic. I just wanted to jump into the conversation.
You got a delay? I think you got a delay.
Do I? Check.
You hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
1 2 1 2. You hear me in real time right now?
Okay, now. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, no, because I was saying it's $7. It's $7 charged to withdraw on your Cash App card.
Oh yeah, with ATMs and things like that for sure. I think that's what they charge me, $4 on mine. The ATM local. Mine, I don't pay anything. My bank card, rather.
Yeah.
But on the last topic,
company card.
Yeah, exactly. On the last topic you were talking about, with like death, it's so funny. I was just talking to my mom about that this morning, and she was saying, she had heard a few other people from her life, and I'm like, at this point in life, I kind of almost expect to hear it sometimes, like, especially if I know people are like a little older than my parents. It's like you can expect to hear that any day. So I try not to be surprised from it, and that is kind of jaded, but I think that just comes along with getting older.
It could be God forbid, it could be me, it could be you, like what I'm saying? That's how I think.
For sure. That's why I'm like, nothing surprises me anymore. I've seen infants pass. I've seen people in perfect health pass. You know what I mean? So nothing really surprises me.
That's what I'm saying. We, people who live, people who pass, and then the people who live on try to understand, that person that day was thinking this and this and this happened, but nobody really knows. You know what I'm saying? Like,
we all question things and wonder. I mean, I've done it.
Right.
I always wonder, does someone know it's their last minute? Like down to the last 60 seconds of your life. Do you know it's your last minute? I wonder.
I don't think so, but I wonder. You never know.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Obviously, some people aren't going to be accidents. Someone in their sleep, you're not going to know. But it's like if you've been sick for a while, or you're in critical condition, but you're coherent. It's like, do you know when that last minute is? I think we would all want to know what that time is, but we don't.
Yeah, because I seen death up close. Like And
Mm-hmm.
ain't nobody in there, man. Like 1 minute
That
you
gives you
here,
a
the next
different
minute
outlook.
gone. Yeah,
Yeah, it gives you a different outlook on life, mortality, things like that once you see it up close.
right.
Even with online, seeing something in real life as compared to watching a video, because I've seen videos online of pretty horrific things, and they stick with me in like my mind's eye. But it's like I don't get necessarily the same feeling as if I'm watching something happen and I'm there.
Yeah,
It's like an added anxiety to it.
I'm telling you, man. It's just I tried my like throughout the years, I tried to make sense of it and all of that, but I just came to the conclusion, that's just a part of life. Well, it's
Mm-hmm.
the end of life, but
It's the one
it's still
thing
a
you
part,
just said. It's the one thing we all have in common.
right?
I mean, hey, from the day you're born, that timer starts, right? So no one knows how long you get with that timer. Some people get 90 to 110 years. Some people only get a day.
But yeah, that's a riddle. Where's everybody going?
And things like that, I believe these thoughts have been with humans for a long time. And I think things like that are why people seek religion and seek meaning and you know what I mean? A higher learning, a higher power, because you're trying to understand these things that are like, how do you how do you figure out death when it's so subjective? There's no black and white to it. It's like it'll take an infant, it'll take the worst person in the world will live to 100 and an innocent baby will go. You know what I mean? How can you make sense of it? So you have to believe in some kind of higher
The
power
person,
to
yeah,
try to make sense of it.
it's not for us, and that's what
Mm-hmm.
that's another thing about when I be studying stuff like that. It's some things we don't understand. We just not gonna understand. But instead of just saying that, people want to
Mm-hmm.
come up with theories. Now, there's nothing wrong with a theory, but after a while, a theory people take it as a fact. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. And the way things work nowadays, things become common consensus, even if it's not the main. You know what I mean? So that's what the problem with theory comes in. Not everything. We could have a
Right.
theory, and a theory is great because that means we use the scientific method to try to prove it. But there are things that we can't prove, and they just go, well, it's this. And then that becomes the common consensus. That doesn't mean that's the truth.
Right.
I mean, they said
Tammy, salute. That's why it's difficult for me to believe
20,
in
20
history
years
and
ago,
stuff
they were
like
saying we were only 50,000 years old. Now they're saying we're 200,000 years old and 10 years later. So, it's always certain things are always changing. There shouldn't be a common consensus until you get there.
that. And we're never gonna get there. It's like the carrot.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the horse and the carrot, man. And
Yep,
that's why I don't believe in history. I don't believe it. I just look at it for what we can learn from the mistakes of the past. You feel me?
for sure. And you got to try to when you try to study history nowadays, you have to get into the context. You got to get into the real reason. You got to see who wrote that history. You know what I mean? All these factors just to try to get to the meat and bones of it.
That's what I be doing, and that's what I said. Like the more I study, the more I don't believe what they telling us.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? So
yeah.
many contradictions. Like it's just so many things that just don't make sense and it don't fit. You know?
100%. 100%. I agree. And there's certain little things you just look at very thinly veiled, and you're like, wait, this doesn't. Like even America as a whole, we went from fighting the British to like the British were like, all right, you guys are cool, do your thing. We'll just go over here. We're friends now. Like, wait, how did that happen in a matter of like 2 years? A lot of people fought each other
That's
over
what
that.
I'm saying. I don't even believe. That's why.
Yeah,
That's why I said I don't believe in like.
yeah. Now there's a lot
I
of stuff like that where I'm like, wait a
don't
minute.
believe
I
in
said, oh, so
history,
you guys kind of won
bro.
because you still got the. I mean, the
It
Revolutionary
just
War is one of the only wars where
not.
the loser wasn't like banished.
It makes sense. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? And shit like nobody, man. Listen, man.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody know what the fuck happened here.
That's, I mean, we got to try to get more discovery of just the common man's writings of that time. You know what I mean? Don't give me like a general who fought. No, because they're gonna spruce that up. Give me a housewife who watched Gettysburg. I want to see her journal entries. I don't want to see the history, but give me the lady who watched from her window in Gettysburg.
So say you wrote a book, or you was working on a script or a story called, Gettysburg. You feel what I'm saying? Like, and then people found it like 200 years later. Like, how we know if you didn't write that story off of a real event that happened, but the shit you write is not accurate? You feel what I'm saying? Like, we don't know. Like, it's like telephone. History is like telephone.
100%. Imagine someone finds Game of Thrones in 200 years because it's based off history, but it's not. You know what I mean? It's like they took these themes from history and weaved it in there, but it's not. I mean, there weren't, there's no stories of dragons in real life. That was always fantasy and things. But they took these real life, like the War of the Roses, which was British succession. They took like these different things and put it through there. Now imagine someone finds that in 200 years. They're like, these guys were fighting dragons. That's why I'm saying you need a vast, the entire table has to be full of some, literature when you're trying to research something. You can't just go off one basis. You can't just say, all right, this is the clear-cut answer. Close the book. We're good.
Imagine you found out George Washington never chopped down a cherry tree and he ain't have wooden teeth.
They're saying now that they're both kind of rumors. They're both kind of not true. They said he would have had porcelain, like porcelain teeth. They did use wood back then, but they say he, being the president, he probably would have porcelain. And they're saying there's proof that he never did chop down the tree. I'm like, all right, but I was in school, you drilled that down. You like that was your main points about George Washington.
Right. I was being sarcastic, sir, but yes.
No, I get it. I think it's a great point. Because when we were like I said, we were in school, those points were pushed. Oh, he chopped down the cherry tree when he was a kid, and the wooden teeth, and then you come to find out like a lot of that is like just been romanticized, so to speak.
You ever seen Apollo, the first ship that went to the moon?
What was it? Apollo 11. Yeah, Apollo 11.
One of those. I don't know.
That was the first one.
Was, but have you ever seen it?
I mean, I've watched a lot of video over the years. So I mean, I could say, I guess.
Have you ever seen it in person?
To an extent.
Have you ever seen it in person?
Yeah, exactly. I didn't see the rocket take off. I wasn't even born yet, and things of that nature.
No, I'm not talking about seeing the rocket take off. I'm just saying seeing it in person, right? Because I went on a school trip to the Intrepid. It's like a aircraft carrier, and they got that. Got it. It's like on it, and it looked like some aluminum foil, man. Like.
Yeah, it's crazy. You look
even as a kid, I said, I don't know how that went to. Yeah, I said, I don't even know how that went to the moon. Even as a kid, I said, what is that? Aluminum foil?
Yeah. Even some of the science behind it just sounds crazy. They're like, all right, we're going like if you the Apollo 13, that they made a movie of that in the 90s because when they were going up, they had an issue and had to like restructure their gas for oxygen. You know what I mean? And then like. In the movie and supposedly real life, they slingshot around the moon using the moon's gravity to shoot them back. It's like, all right, but you tell us that's like 93 million miles away. You know what I mean? Like, wait, how far did that slingshot take them? We're defying Newton's laws of gravity by that. So but again, like you said, you look at what they supposedly went to the moon in. Then and now you look at like even the international space station, which is supposedly up there all the time, and these two things look like one looks like aliens created it compared to the other. Like you said, aluminum foil.
Yeah, man. That's why. Listen, man. Yeah, it's difficult. It's difficult, man. Like that's why people be asking me, "What are you studying? What are you studying?" I study a lot. I study a lot of things, but what I'm learning is like it's like I don't know this stuff. It feels like you know how in the ancient times every civilization has like a creation myth. You know, they was
Yep.
created by the gods Zeus and
Mm-hmm.
Ra in Egypt. It's like
Always.
that's what it feels like the creation story of America. You know what I'm saying? Like the
I get
stories
that.
they
Yeah.
telling, like some of it don't make it, it could be based on true events, but a lot of it is like, myth and folklore is like mixed in. You feel me?
Mm-hmm. They say Antarctica wasn't discovered till the 1500s, but there's maps from like the 700s that have it drawn out exactly, like almost to the mile. So it's, and I mean, still to this day, they put out a map that they say, hey, the map's skewed. You know what I mean? That's why like Greenland and Iceland look so big when they're not as that big in real life. It's skewed at the top and the bottom. It's like, all right, but if you've put that out there to us for at least 10 years now, why not fix it? So kids stop thinking that, they go to Iceland or Greenland and they're thinking, is this huge place? You're like, wait, this is a little island. So there's certain things they still do in schools where they're like, hey, we do this wrong. We're like, all right, fix it. They're like, nah, maybe next year. Like, wait, what?
Right. Trooper, salute.
There's a lot of stuff like that, man, where it's like, I don't know. Like I said, I'm not a Trump supporter, but when I heard he wanted to like get rid of the Board of Education and stuff, I'm like, well, I don't want to get rid of them, but we need reform because I went through this school system. I had 2 children go through them school systems, and I know that I've learned more out of school than I ever learned in it. My studies of history, my studies of science, they were way more in depth than school ever gave me.
You see, me, what kind of messed me up when, the first thing that made me look at history as suspect is the whole Columbus thing. Like that Columbus thing, that had me like, what do you mean he got lost? And this is why people are called Indian. And like that, it didn't make no sense to me. You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah, there's a lot of that. That's great. A lot that's left out. Like we didn't learn nothing from his journals in school. It was literally
Right, because
1492, sailed the ocean blue, 3 boats. He discovered America. It's like, all right, then next year we come back and they're like, oh, here's Leif Erikson, a guy from Greenland who discovered parts of Canada and North America. You're like, wait a minute. I thought you said it was this guy. So history's so weird with stuff like that.
yeah, but it's like, all right, Columbus thought he was in India. Then they found out this wasn't India. But I don't understand where the American, like India, like the Native American thing is fairly new. That came about like in the 90s, right?
Yeah.
So people
now
will
they're
call
saying
American
indigenous
Indian.
people. Yeah. Now they're just saying
Right.
indigenous
But
people.
they
not
used to
even
be
Native
called, but they used to be called American Indian because they said Columbus got lost in the West Indies, which is the Caribbean, right? Correct.
Yep.
So Columbus never came to North America. So how did the native people in North America be called Indian? How they became American Indians? Like all
I think there's
hundreds of years later.
Consensus. I think a lot of history is that the common consensus of things. People just Christopher Columbus was the easier name to remember than like Amerigos Vespucci, Prester John. I'm trying to think of other historicals. That's it. Leif Erikson. You know what I mean? Like things like that. Christopher Columbus is like you could put a bow on that name. It's easier to say, easy to remember. It's phonetic, 2 C's. So, but that's like things become that. I always tell everybody like, what do you clean your ear with? People say Q-tip. No, you clean your ear with a cotton swab. Q-tip is a brand. What do you listen to music on? An iPod? No, you listen on an MP3 player. iPod is a brand. So the consensus always works like that. people will you go down south, it could be RC Cola, and they still call it Coke. I mean, get a Coke. Do you know what I mean? Or a Cola.
No, listen, that is a great point. That is a sabotage salute. That's a great point. But we talking about Christopher Columbus in 1492. It's two continents and some Caribbean islands.
Yeah.
Columbus, they said they discovered that this wasn't India in not even 100 years later. What, like 100 years later? How long? So how did it spread?
Probably less. Probably. I don't know for a fact, but I assume probably less.
So how did people being called Indian in the Caribbean islands in 1492 spread all the way to North America?
Yeah. Within within like 200 years, you were getting, or 300 years, pardon, you were getting the Wild West, right? So it's like, how did they get called Indians in Kansas?
Right.
In 300 years later. But I think, like I was saying, what I'm saying is, like, I think those names carried over. You know, people who were maybe migrating from the Caribbean through Florida and then eventually making their way up, those names stuck. Or also, you had Columbus come back and like, oh my God, everybody over there is an Indian. So these people that were coming over from Portugal, Spain, Ireland, Germany, wherever, they were just like, oh, that's full of Indians. You know, so that name
that sounds good. That sounds good. But the people who say they was there before Columbus came in America was calling themselves Indians, right?
Yeah.
How is they calling themselves Indians if Columbus all the way in the Caribbean? Because you got to remember, when we saying it, it sounds small, but America is 2 continents in Caribbean islands. We didn't have no iPhone, telephone. What we use? Pigeon fly, like mail pigeons. Like, how did these people all over in North America be called Indians, and they called themselves Indians? If they discovered that this wasn't India in the 1500s, how is people calling themselves Indians in the 1900s?
And they give us the same history of the quote Indians, where 2 tribes couldn't even agree on a piece of land, but I'm supposed to believe they agreed on calling themselves Indians. We live in a time now where people can't agree to call themselves white. I'm not white, I'm Italian. You know what I'm saying? Even the debate with Black and African Americans, some people would get offended if you call them Black. Some people would get offended if you called them African American. You know what I mean? FBA is a word that's coming into the consciousness lately. That's even another alternate. So it's like we to this day can't agree on what we want to be called.
Yeah, but you looking at it in the mindset of now instead of then. See, now,
but some of them were warring, right? Some of those tribes were killing each other.
But now we have communication. The United States is united. We got an organized school system. They didn't have none of this back then. Really? They wasn't even agreeing with each other. You feel what I'm saying? Yeah, so how the hell is we called?
Yeah, until the 1950s, things were very rural. That's true. Once they built the international highway system, things changed.
So how for 300 years, people over here is called Indian? Like, I don't understand it. Like, you know, that's one of the things I don't understand. That's what made me question.
That name carried on even longer than 300, right? If we take ourselves out of it a little bit and look at history, where history will be, let's say 200 years from now, they're going to look at history and go, okay, so these people were called Indians from 1492 till probably 2014. And then it was, it was Indians up in, like you said, like you had just said, in the 90s when Native American got pushed to the forefront. But even you look at 2014, it's like now it's indigenous people. And indigenous people I'm not a fan. I have some native blood, not a lot that to write home about. But to me, indigenous people takes away anything that aligns them with America. Indigenous people could be anybody. That you could call the Aborigines in Australia indigenous people, because they're people. That just means it's the first people. So it's like, all right, you calling them indigenous people, you're not saying that you have to add in of America. If you don't add that in there, you're taking that. So I think Native American represented it even better, and but names change over time. You're going to look at history.
But we Native Americans, If you born here, you're a Native American.
That's why I think the problem with the name came in, because people are like, wait a minute, the white, black, Asian, Latino, Native American, you're quote Indian are all Native American. You're born here, you're a Native American.
And then we still have West Indians. You feel what I'm saying? So my point is, before they came here, well, no, they came here, they called this India. Then they went somewhere else to Hindustan. They went to the Hindustan and they said, oh no, this is really India. And they changed that to India, and it split up between India and Pakistan, right? So those people are not, they wasn't called Indians until like the 1800s. They was called Hindus. And people over here was called Indians. So people over here was called Indians first before the people over there was called Indian.
Yep. Then it became American Indian because you had India over it. See, I've seen something recently. They said what Columbus was really trying to do was try to find a quicker route than the Silk Road. He was trying to. They were trying to suggest you can go west and get to different parts of the Silk Road faster. And on the way, that's when he found the Caribbean. Right. So that's something they're saying now. Like I said again, instead of just saying it's an open-ended theory, they want to act like, stamp it. He came here on 3 ships and he landed in New York City and made Times Square himself. You know what I mean? You're like, wait a minute. Can we agree that we don't know yet? Let's just wait till we get a little more information. You already named it after another country. South America is where America comes from.
Do you look at ancient maps and like medieval maps? The shit don't even match the maps we have now.
Yeah. The ones that do match, they don't talk about. They show us the ones that look like crap.
Some maps got motherfucking China in North America.
Yeah. Some people believe now that Egypt is in what the hell is that called? Some do believe Mississippi, but I heard at first the Grand Canyon.
Oh, the Grand Canyon. Oh yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah, some people believe because there's parts of the Grand Canyon you can't get into, but when people were starting to go that way a little bit, they were seeing hieroglyphs.
And so why people
everywhere made hieroglyphs.
And you know why people believe that?
I mean, people nowadays have a huge distrust on everything. I think that's the leading
Egypt,
thing.
You know why they believe that? Because Egypt, India, these places is mythical places that these people came and applied to different places. And some of the shit, whatever stuck is what it is called now. You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah. Oh, I mean, you see it with Germany, right? We call them Germany. They don't call it Germany. They call it Deutschland. So it's like they're not agreeing to the name that America gave them. Other countries do. That's all. Egypt was in Egypt until a few hundred years ago. It had a different name. The place existed, but it had a different name. Kemet and things like that.
Yeah, because it wasn't no Germany back then. It was Germania.
Yeah. Germania and things like that. Yep, exactly.
That was like a Roman province.
Like they don't Britannia. Tell us where a lot of the names come from.
These was Roman
There's a ton
province.
Of stuff we don't know.
Africa, Africanus or something like that. Britannia, Hispania,
Gaul. Yep.
Gaul, Scotland, all of them shits was Roman.
Yeah, right. Gaul. Yep.
Even when they came over here, they wasn't called. A lot of them didn't have no countries established.
Yeah, a lot of that was America coming when they came to America. A lot of these names were made here. Right. My name wasn't Murphy when my people came here. It was Mick Murphy or O Murphy. When you're from Ireland, your name has Mick or O in the front, and those names mean son of or father of. Because even the Vikings did that, right? You're like Eric the Red. His son was named Leif Eric, son of Eric. So that's like how the Vikings did it, and the Irish did it similar. It'd be O, like if you've seen O Murphy, it would mean son of. But a lot of that got dropped on Ellis Island. They took the Mick, the O off. Your name was just Murphy now.
Right.
and names got changed. Oh, where are you from? Oh, I don't know that country, so we'll just write it down as this. Now it's on public record of this place that no one else uses that name. And I mean, listen, they didn't keep records like we do now. No one kept records like we do now.
That's what I'm saying. Like I think America has like the oldest kept records. You feel what I'm saying?
I believe so. I believe so because a lot of them got destroyed over the years. They destroyed the White House, but they never got like other important articles.
Well, one of the countries with the oldest. I ain't gonna say the only country.
Yeah, exactly.
I think our census is like in the 1700s or something like that.
I mean, the beginning of America, you had a lot of smart people. You know, a lot of them were hateful. What history tells us, hateful, racist people, but they were still smart nonetheless when it came to other things. Apparently, dumb in that category, but
that's what I'm saying. The whole story of the founding, the whole story of America, it don't even make no sense.
And you look at it with different eyes, right? Like look at how we were raised to look at the forefathers compared to our kids. Like our kids' generation are tearing down statues. Our generation, right. Like kids in Virginia still had to walk past General Lee statues when we were in school. These kids nowadays, they're tearing statues down. So they're not even looking at history the same way. When we were kids, it was like, they told us Thomas Jefferson had slaves, but it was kind of like an afterthought because this guy made the Declaration and was the treasurer and these, you know what I'm saying? So it's like they pushed it to the background. Our kids' generation, that shit became, wait a minute, we can't idolize this guy who did this, this, and this.
Right.
You look at things with different eyes.
Right. But that's what I'm saying. What's true, what's not true? Like,
yep.
You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I can't. I don't know. You know what I'm saying?
When I get into my studies, I see a lot of this country burned. A lot of this country burned in the early 1900s. So how much of those records are still there? Chicago burned down, like in the early 90s. You know what I mean? All these places had these horrific, huge fires back then. So am I supposed to believe records weren't reinvented, so to speak? I can't faithfully put, I would say no. People would like, oh, we got to replace this. It's our charter, and change things up along the way.
Right.
You try to look for that in history where there were great fires and, race wars and labor wars. And a lot of that, you got to understand. You could look at how even when the World War II, like the way they would destroy people's history. That's something people do when they're at war. They're going to erase you from history. They're going to take you guys off the map and take away any proof you were ever there. So am I supposed to believe some of this stuff wasn't reinvented to keep the spirit up? Come on. That'd be a foolish thought.
Yeah, most like government, like most religion and history and is political. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, only 500 years ago, the church ran everything. In France, in London, England, the church became, especially in France, like when you see the story of like the Three Musketeers, we're always pushed like, oh, these guys. But you ask people like, what were they fighting for? What was it about? You know what I mean? It's like because the church, they fought for the church. They were like the church's, military arm. So that's like a lot of that stuff gets left out in history. They don't give you the little nuances.
Yeah, you gotta look at. That's why you gotta study for yourself. You gotta research. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? But they say, wait, don't discuss race, politics, and religion. Is all
Mm-hmm.
it's all politics, religion.
I just seen a Facebook memory where I was teaching my dad about Tulsa. He had no idea. 60 years old at the time, had no idea about like Tulsa, and I'm like, you don't know about the Red Summer? And he's like, no clue, never heard about it. So I was sending him videos. And that's what I'm like, yeah, this is stuff I learned more out of school than I learned in.
Right. Me as well.
I mean, even with math and I learned more about measurements working in a kitchen as a chef, as a cook, than I ever learned, through a textbook. I had to learn on that way what's 1/3 and 1/3 and things. So it's like even 28 grams, things of that nature. I learned that out of school. I didn't learn none. Like school's like 1 and 1 is 2. You got it. All right, move on. Like you guys got to try to cultivate this better. Not everyone learns the same. Some of these kids could be super successful if we found the way they learned. And listen, I don't know how you do that, but it's not my job to either. I could figure it out if you got paid. Yeah, I had time to do it. It's just some things are crazy.
Right.
Yeah, Yugoslavia was crazy, Dagmar. Became 2 different places. Once
a lot of that stuff. That's why I said a lot of these things is happening in real time. Like, and history is being made now. Like, but that ancient history, I don't really, I don't believe it. Chilling, salute. I don't believe it.
I mean, within the last, I'd say, let me ask you that. I'll propose you the question. How far back would you say you would believe history then?
I'll say probably like the 1900s.
1900s. Wow, so that's not even, that's only 3 generations or 4 generations.
Yeah.
I understand that though, because a lot of that's still 4 generations is great grandma or great great grandma. So that still exists. So I understand that. Some of it I'd like to believe, but I'd like to try to figure out interior motives and why would they say we won the Revolutionary War? I'll look into that instead of just what the history book tells me,
Because that's when they wrote like organized world history, like public schools and all that type of stuff. Like that's when the program began. You know what I'm saying? So I don't. But anything before that, I don't believe it. You feel what I'm saying?
I get that.
The people who wrote history and controls the narrative, they wasn't even here at that time. They didn't come to like the immigration. You feel what I'm saying?
True. No, I understand that for sure. I wonder. I'm trying to answer that same question myself. I think I go back just a little bit further, but maybe to I'd say the 1800s, like the Industrial Revolution. I think that's when things changed a little bit. By then you had, major cities had their own news, multiple newspapers and things of that nature. So I think some things in history then that's when you had people who became skeptics, you know what I mean? Things like that were like, wait a minute, this story doesn't add up. Look into it a little bit. So I'll probably go back.
But it still was under the control of the government.
Yeah, for sure. And there were times through history that they could do that to the media. That's what everyone's like, oh, nowadays, and it's like you can look in history, 1900s, like they were suppressing people. It wasn't like, oh, we're 200 years from the Declaration, freedom of speech. Like you got way more freedom of speech now than you had 100 years ago. Like think about it. 100 years ago, they took your right to drink beer and liquor. You know what I'm saying? So it's like we're out here like they're taking our freedom of speech. It's like, bro, they've done it. They'll do it when they if you don't want that to happen, you got to stand up. That's the only time things happen. People unite.
Yeah, but it wasn't the same as now. Like a lot of people a lot of people do that. Like they relate what's going on now to what was going on back then. Back then, shit wasn't really. They didn't have this surveillance. They didn't have all of this. So people's name, like your name, like people had more freedom. You could get away with more stuff. You could change your identity. You could move over. You could go across to the next state and make a new life. You feel what I'm saying? You could have 2 different families.
Back then, they moved to the next city. Move to the next city
Right.
and grow a mustache. They never know you were over there. It was crazy back then. They're like, this guy's a serial. He's been getting all the
Right.
prostitutes. It's like, guys, can't we just stand on the corner, put a cop on each corner, and figure this the hell out? What the hell? Jack the Ripper terrorized for months. It's like, how? It was that part of the neighborhood wasn't that big.
Right. It was different. That's what I'm saying. Like people don't understand. Like now, it may feel like we got more freedom, but
That's a
it's
good
not
point.
really.
Yeah, there were
So
different freedoms back
they
then.
can run
There were
down on
different
you at
freedoms.
any time.
Yeah, you look at like the Wild West, right? Like
Yeah.
it's called the Wild West. That's when laws were coming in. But if you look at it, that was the most free you could ever be. You had this just farmland in Kansas. No one came out to your house unless there was a specific reason. You lived 10 miles from the main
Yeah. The
city. No one
frontier.
you come to my house, I might shoot at you. You never knew what it was in the Wild West because people had that freedom. We live out here.
Yeah.
We do what we want. Only time we leave our house is to go to church. Like that's how it was back then. So you had a lot of freedom outside what the church would allow.
Yeah.
It's a good point. It's a good point.
The states wasn't organized like it wasn't like now. Like,
Yeah.
And it's like it was 13 colonies. Like how America is 2 continents and some Caribbean islands. You feel what I'm saying? It's places now they finding in the Amazon that they never even discovered. So
Yeah.
it's like it's hard for me to believe that the story about what they be saying happened here.
Yeah, there's a lot of that's where I look at it. It's like there was a lot. There had to be even going through by their history. There had to be a lot of stuff coming in that should have been added to the history books. It's probably not. Like you just said, for instance, 13 colonies. That's what we started as, and that's just the East Coast. We didn't gain any more really until the Louisiana Purchase, right? We got a lot of, and then they started to expand west. It's like, what happened to all the people that lived there? Because by the time you did the Louisiana Purchase, it was like 100 years after the Declaration almost. There was already all kind of people living out there, not just the natives. You had people who lived in the 13 colonies. Let's move a little more west. There's some free land out there. So it's like, was that history ever added in? I don't know. California, I mean, what that was, you know what I mean? California and New Mexico and that whole area out there. They don't give us enough. Utah is because of the Utes. We don't know that. They just say, oh, it's Utah. Why is it Utah? Because the Ute tribe.
Yeah. They don't know a lot of things, man. That's what I'm trying to say. They don't know a lot of things. They just put together a curriculum that fit the political structure, of the government, and that was it.
They teach you enough to be a happy worker. This curriculum was started in the Industrial Revolution. They were trying to teach people how to. Why did we get taught math? So you could count how many things were coming down your assembly line. So you didn't have to count one by one. Now you knew multiplication. People don't even know that. Like back in the day, school was funded by like Henry Ford, Rockefellers. Like they were funding the school system. They went, oh, we want people to learn and math and read. And that was a blessing for a lot of people, right? A lot of people learned how to read that probably their parents didn't know, everyone in front of them, just because of school. But still to this day, there's people that don't. The Amish don't abide by the national curriculum. The Amish live in their own world.
No talk. That's different. Yeah, the Amish, that's a whole different, The Amish is a whole
the reservations. The natives weren't stupid. The reservation said, fine, you're putting us on this land all together. Leave us the fuck alone. And that's what happens. You'll hear cops in like Kansas. Oh, we don't go out there. They got their own police force. You're going to have to call them. That's, so there are these places that do exist.
Yeah, it's true.
You go to like where the Sioux Indian, the Cherokee, they have their reservations. They have their own police forces and casinos on the native land. And like a lot of them said, all right, bet, turn this shit around. Watch this. You know what I mean? So, but not everybody has that luxury. There are places that didn't get that light. So what happens? They become hoods. They become ghettos. Same shit happens everywhere.
Right.
You live in New York, if you live in New York, you live in Philly, Baltimore, you've seen that happen to these places. The people stopped caring, the city stopped caring, bang. And that's what happened to Kensington. In World War II, Kensington would have been the place you wanted to move because you were guaranteed a job. You were guaranteed almost to get a 2 to 3 bedroom house. Nice. That's what people wanted, right? You wanted a happy little family, a job, and somewhere you can raise your kids. You had all that. There was churches, there were schools, and then once those warehouse jobs faded, that was it. It was a wrap. Those warehouses closed, became dens for drugs, and people move out, people move in.
Real talk.
I always say that if I was ever like running for president, that's what I would run on. That's what I would definitely do. Like bring back warehouse work. I don't care if robots can do it to be more efficient. Sometimes you got to eat the bottom line to benefit the greater good. Like when you're a manager, right? Sometimes you got to take a little extra money out your pocket to bless your guys, to thank them. You know what I mean? You do these little things. So it's like, why wouldn't we do that as a country? Say, all right, I understand robots can load toilet paper into a box more efficiently than a person, but a robot don't have to eat. A fellow American does. So let's keep that a human job. I think if America focused on, getting people to build again and building quality, because it's like we get a lot of shit shipped in here. A lot of the shit, you go to a dollar store, everything's made in Taiwan, made in China, made in Hong Kong. You know what I mean? We're getting these things in. Why aren't we making our own dollar store items? Make them with a little bit better quality, and people might pay $2. I think a lot of it's like, oh, do it there. It's all about the bottom line, and that you're looking at the wrong bottom line.
Capitalism, baby.
Mm-hmm. Capitalism 101. So true.
I think we created capitalism, man. I think we the first.
I think so. I think it was America. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's
a lot of things about America. There's a lot of things about America that they don't tell us.
Oh, you ain't lying. Even with the World War II, like Henry Ford was an American German supporter before World War II. Or the fact that one of the main guys from World War II on the German side kind of started NASA. They don't tell us any of that stuff. Werner Braun. Like, wait, what?
They said the president of Israel is from. They said the president of Israel is from America, man. Is this true? Did you hear this?
Well, I never heard that. No. Yeah, who? Netanyahu? I never heard that one before. Hey, the Pope's from America, and the World Cup's coming to Philly. America's on top. we back on top. Let's get some Pepsi and Doritos.
You said what?
I said, I said the World Cup is coming to Philly, and there was something else. I said, let's get some Pepsi and Dorito. America's back on top.
Oh, wow.
I'll tell you, sometimes I wish I was 10 years older. I wish I was 10 years older. If I could have, I was only, when the 80s ended, I was 6. If I could have been 16, that would have been the 80s looked like a good time to be alive if you were a little older.
Man, I love the 90s, man.
I did love the 90s, but I think that's nostalgia. I think that's nostalgia because that's when I was 10 to 17. But I like the 80s though, money was flowing. You think it you see it in movies with even Wolf of Wall Street and stuff like that. Money was everywhere back then.
Nah, the 80s was definitely cool. The 80s was definitely cool, but the 90s, man, the 90s set the trend for the rest of for up to now. You know what I'm saying?
They talk about that. I've seen something recently and said if you look at history, right, every decade had almost a look that identified them, right? Like in if I'd say the 60s, you think of a hippie. If I say the 70s, you think of disco. If I say the 80s, you might think of like a rock star with the big hair. You might think of hip hop, Kangol hats. And if I say the 90s, you might think of these different. You might think neon for the early 90s. It's like what's the look for 2000 all the way to now, 2025? There isn't one. So it's like the 2000s don't have a look, the 2010s don't have a look, and we're halfway through the 20s and they don't have a look. Some of us are dressing like it's the 90s. Still.
The youngsters would know that. We just don't know no more, man. We ain't in the loop. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but if you look at some of the styles even the youngsters wear, it looks like what we wore. You see kids out here wearing jeans and flannels. You see kids out here wearing Kangols still and Fila's hype again. And you know what I mean? So it's like trends come back around all the time.
Yeah, but some of they not trendy. You know, they got people, the young people who's trendy. Like they know what they wearing. They know what's going on. You know what I'm saying? Like they on that designer.
Yeah.
They on a designer type wave.
That's what I'm saying. They're more adventurous in their styles for sure. You'll see a guy a young buck wearing like a suit for no reason. I just like suits. You're like, oh, okay. You know what I mean? Like, good for you, guy. You should have a good.
But it was kind of like that. It was kind of like that in the '80s. Like, you seen The Message? They had on cowboy boots. That was the '80s or the '70s? No, that was the '80s.
Yeah, I'd say it was probably easier to say that it was like 78, 79. So you're talking about the 80s anyway. But yeah, cowboy boots with like a muscle shirt, big thick sun. Right, you said it a minute ago earlier. You were saying about the Velcros, and I'm like, how funny is it that in the 90s people wore Velcro shoes and the blind people glasses? You know, the real thick ones for blind people. It's like, yo, like now they'd make fun of you if you wore that style, but in the 90s, you were the freshest guy on the block with the Velcros. It's crazy. I don't know, man. Things move fast nowadays. Styles move real fast because of the internet. TikTok, Instagram.
Everything move fast. It's trendy. Yep. Everything trendy now. Everything is pop culture.
I mean, this is the only time you think about it. In the 80s, 90s, you seen a rapper, you seen a rock star when you were a little kid. You're like, I want to grow up to be that. That's how nowadays you're like, I don't want to work a regular job. I could just talk to my phone and get famous. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like when we were kids, it's like, I want to be a rock star. I want to be an astronaut. Now they're like, oh, I want to be a TikToker. I want to be a YouTuber.
Oh, they just want to be famous.
Yeah. Look at OnlyFans, right? What's the whole objective with that? Girls can be a regular girl and get some level of fame and money from it. It's not just these big models you see on YouTube. Most people on there are just regular girls from regular towns.
Yeah, the world is very different now. A lot of
instant gratification, and I don't know.
Let's see what people do with them. You know what I'm saying? Even for us older folks, we got another chance, man. This is the last chance right here for some people, man. You know?
True.
But see what they do with it. Let's see if they make the same mistakes of the past.
I try to be hopeful, man. Every generation's been a little more open-minded than the one before it. So I try to be hopeful.
Right.
But hey, great conversation as always, my brother. Appreciate you.
I appreciate you. Salute, Kenzo.
You already know, brother. Salute.
Another great bill. Salute, 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 salute. Appreciate y'all. I think I'm going to wrap it up. Dagmar, salute. Appreciate y'all. Appreciate all the members. John Caluminati. I'll catch y'all on the next one. Hopefully, I'm going to try to get back over here tomorrow. Hopefully. Holla at your boy. Peace.